Alright, so it's a quick walkthrough of the heated bed install, as well as cutting the aluminum plate, and some quick details while I'm still working through the setup. There'll probably be a couple more parts later, so here goes. Alright, so first thing what you want to do is, when you get your aluminum plate, you're going to actually make the put your holes. We'll talk about some of the tools real quick that are needed. Basically, you'll need your 6mm bit, which, as you can see, mine has broken off. The other half of it somewhere else. But get yourself some good metal drill bits. You also need these countersinking bits. You can buy a full set like I have here. But as you'll see, there's no need for the smaller ones. This is a 19mm one. You can probably go bigger than this and it'll be fine as well. You're just trying to make a very shallow countersink. You also need some punches. These are just rubber or leather punches. If you are going with a rubber mat for insulation, probably cord, you can just cut with scissors. But we'll walk through that too in a minute. So basically, as you can see, the bed's almost installed. And that is, once you get your sheet here, and I'll turn it over briefly. So what you want to do is you want to take your template. I don't have more details on this, but basically this is one of the drawings in Onshape, and we'll publish it as a PDF. But basically, you'll take it to a print shop, or if you have a plotter at home, just do blueprint paper. It's cheap, about $5 for this, or use sticker paper if you want something a little easier to work with. So basically, you're going to lay that on, make sure it's roughly meeting the corners here. Again, you don't have to have it perfect, but just have it close enough to the corners. Make sure this is nice and flat and spread out. And then you'll tape it down. I can't tape it down because I already have the screws underneath, but you get the idea. You tape it down, and then you'll actually grab your punch tool, maybe one of these automatic punches with a nice big red ball on top, or just another punch. And then you'll come to these little crosshair marks. They're a little hard to see, but you'll go ahead and take your punch to those crosshairs a couple times, and you can choose to do the center one. Again, this is still an idea that we're testing out, see if a 3-point mounting bed could work, but at least this gives you the center mount for later. So you go ahead and punch those out. Make sure you do the center one too. That's going to be for the stud thermistor that goes in there later. And then set your template aside. And then you're going to start drilling your holes. Make sure you start with a spall bit. I think this is an M4 bit. Maybe start with a 2mm bit. This is a 3mm in here. I know the drawing says 2.4, but that's 2.4 tapped. So we'll actually use, and I'll double check, but there should be a 3mm bit from your tap and die set with a 3mm tap, then later to tap that hole for a 3mm screw. Because we're going to use the M3 stud thermistor, which I'll find in a minute. One of these. And that'll go in the bottom of the bed. I'll show that in a second. And then you're going to drill out your holes here. Again, start with maybe a 2mm bit as the pilot, then go 3, then go maybe 4, then go 6. Just take it nice and slow. You can buy some tap oil or any other kind of cutting fluid. And just take it really nice and easy, slow. And then afterwards, you're going to countersink. And you want to make sure when you do countersink, and this is going to take a couple tries, make sure that that head of that socket sits nice and flush. Right? It's okay if it's underneath a little bit. You just don't want it sticking up. So we get a nice flat surface on the bed. And then we'll turn it over. And you can see the back. Basically, you're going to place your heat bed, whether you have the Kenevo dual zone or maybe you have a cheaper 30 by 30 bed. Put it to the back. You might use, in my case, the Kenevo one does have a 3M adhesive, kind of like this stuff. So just take that off, put it back, take your spatula, flatten out all the bubbles, get it out of there. Make sure it's nice and flat, roughly center, doesn't have to be exact. The main point is that you want this hole, if you are using this Kenevo bed, as close to center as you can. You can see I missed it a little bit, but not a big deal. And then just for extra safety measures, lay some Kapton tape just to give you a nice, make sure that the edges stay stuck to the metal, that the edges don't start peeling off later on. Kind of, then take some extra Kapton, get your wires nice and tight there too, so that if there's any kind of pulling on this in the future, it's not really pulling on the connector up here or down here. So just make sure these are nice and snug. If you're using a PCB style board, make sure any traces are covered. And then I'll take this M3 stud out, screw for a second, and this basically will just screw right in there, like so. And that gives you the thermistor hopefully close to the surface level as we can. And then the rubber mat is sitting right there. So we'll go through that in another video, but basically you lay it on top of the aluminum, probably before you actually do the heat pad. You can do it after too. And then use the aluminum holes that you cut before as your template for punching the holes in the rubber mat. Now with the rubber mat, you can always go, when you use the dies, you want to use the dies that are actually bigger than the hole itself. So if you have a set, easy way to find out is just take your screw, take one of the dies, I guess these are called, and make sure it fits in there, and that gives you at least a bigger hole than your screw. Now of course you can go slightly bigger. And then for the middle here, and the rubber mat, you do want to go bigger. This is a 10mm hole, so roughly an 8 or 10mm is fine. Doesn't seem to cause any issues. But that's it for part 1 of the heat bed, and more to come soon.